Hey guys, Raphael's back. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how to create an interactive resume. So let's think back during your professional job hunt. Don't you just hate it when you're kind of submitting your Word document resumes to countless job openings only to get maybe one or two callbacks on maybe 30 or 40 submissions? Now, if you're not the lucky few, this is something familiar to you, something that you've witnessed throughout your job professional search, something that I've actually gone through myself in the past. So, me being in data analytics and being in that type of field and industry, I thought it might be great years ago to build an interactive resume. And basically, what that is you're just using Tableau to create a resume and have all those necessary parts in your document visualized in Tableau. Now, remember, remember a Word document. You're at school, you're in college, and they're doing resume workshops, and they're saying, hey, make sure you keep your resume to a one pager. Recruiters hate it when you get resumes that are multiple pages. What are they going to do? They're just going to chunk them in the trash. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes if you have a diligent recruiter, they're going to go through all the resumes. But sometimes some recruiters they just have so many to go through that they may just pitch it aside and not get to it or put it back underneath the pile. So I still am very much for the one pager. However, it's somewhat tough when you get into your mature professional career to put everything in one page, right? You got your education, you got your professional experience, you got your technical skills, additional skills, objective statement. So what do? Well, of course, in your actual CV document, you put the most important stuff first. Stick to the one pager, but also have a link there to your interactive resume. In your interactive resume, you have the ability and the freedom to not only put the same stuff on your resume, but put an enormous amount of information, right? And it doesn't have to look that crowded. You can make it very simple. You utilize hover tooltips. Utilize different kinds of functionalities to show tech recruiters what you can do in Tableau. That's the one thing I like about Tableau is when I built my interactive resume, I made sure to not only convey what I wanted to convey in terms of my professional experience, but I also wanted to show recruiters what are the different kinds of things that I can do in Tableau. I have hover tooltips, I have bar graphs, I have word maps, the simple tabular stuff, radio buttons, the use of images, URL links. All these are things that intermediate developer in Tableau can do. So that's one great way to kind of convey that you can do Tableau is by actually doing it, right? And if the recruiter is very diligent, they're gonna go to that interactive resume, and then that's not gonna stop them there. They'll see your resume, but if you have a lot more visualizations to go into your portfolio, then they're gonna peruse. They're gonna look around, take a look at all your dashboards, see any growth that you've seen in your resume. And that's the one thing I've noticed that I've done in terms of my brand, right? What kind of brand do you want to convey when someone mentions Raphael? When someone mentions Raphael, I want them to say, hey, look at all this stuff that he's done on his CV, right? But I also want them to know that if I'm going to stay within the data analytics field, and I've told them on the CV that I can do Tableau, go check out my interactive resume, right? Check it out. See what I can do. But also check out all the other stuff I can do. I kind of think of it like a photographer, right? When a photographer gets hired to do a big job, what do they bring? They bring their portfolio, right? And the portfolio shows all past type of jobs they've done. Well, that's exactly what you're doing with your Tableau public profile. You're actually showing the recruiter or the audience all the past work you've done. And I'm hoping that if you have a Tableau public profile, you have an abundant amount of work there, right? You have work that you've visualized through some workout Wednesdays, some makeover Mondays, or just some data sets you've done on your own. Well, now you have a resume to tie all that in, right? They can go to that interactive resume, but now they have a platform where they can see your skills showcased online. So that's the one thing I love about an interactive resume is you can still convey the same information that you have in your CV and more. So let's go ahead and get started. You can see on this screen here, we're at the Tableau screen. I'm gonna first show you really quick an Excel document I did. Basically, this was all information that I got from my resume, and I put it into Excel format. Why I did that? Because I'm going to use this as my data source to visualize my resume. Okay, so the first thing we have four tabs here: timeline, additional skills, technical skills, and training certifications. All right, first things first, timeline. That's basically telling the education, professional experiences, the jobs I've had, right? So I definitely want to make sure that I showcase a start date, duration, or an end date if you want to do that. Status, past, completed. I do that more as a flag, so when I start building in Tableau. And then I have stuff like I created what's called a task group. So basically, grouping all these up into um, groupings when I do the bar chart. So there's one for education. I've also done one for professional experiences. Title. You can see I have my job titles there, but for education, I have what I've accomplished, the BBA, the MBA. And then the description is very simple. Put your description there, long form in one of those cells. So we're gonna convert this into a time series bar chart. Okay. Now, before we get to Tableau, I'm gonna show you the rest of the tabs. Here we have additional skills, right? So I've had the naming convention of the skill, the tooltip. Um, this is what I'm gonna show on the hover, and then I wait. So basically, I'm gonna use this and create a word map, right? What's gonna be out there is a word map of these skills. This is just a flag to have different colors, and then the weight, which is basically the size weight I'm going to do of each of these call out skills. Technical skills. This is basically I'm going to create a simple kind of radio button form of where I am in terms of these types of tech skills, and then training certifications. Basically doing a basic tabular table for that. Okay, so now let's go to Tableau. Let's go to this timeline. Check this out. All right, so I built this really quick. This is basically a bar chart that's looking at every single point in time from the time I started my bachelor's all the way up until now. So as you can see, I have it grouped up here by education and professional experience, which is the task group that I was talking about. The task is in relationship to the name of said cohort in that group. So for education, SMU, I went there twice, so that's only in there once, and you can see that it's represented by two red boxes. Then you have all my individual kind of stops in my professional career, and then the bars associated with how much time I was there at that position or at school. So the cool thing about this is because we are going to use the hover tooltip to have all that information in there, the description, right? So if you hover over that, you can see I not only have an image there for my college, SMU, job, education status, past. I started in August 98. I ended in May of '02 for my bachelor's. And then I ended it off with bolding what I got my degree in. Same for MBA as well. And then as you go to each job, you could see over the hover the description of what I did at that job. So at my first job after college, you could see the start, the end date, what my title was, and then a brief description of what I did, of my accomplishments, of my skills. The same for all my other ones. As you can see the hover. Notice how I had two positions here, so I kind of separated it out by time. And then here I have three individual positions, so I have different descriptions for those said positions at that job. And then, of course, the present one I have here, where I have that listed there. So this is going to be the main body of the interactive resume. So it's just basically a visual representation of where my journey has gone from school and throughout my professional experience. So now let's go to tech skills. So this was the radio button feature I showed you, utilizing the type, where I saw myself beginner, intermediate, advanced, expert. I'm basically coloring where I basically classify myself for those set skills. So this is a simple kind of radio circle button type view, showing where I am um, in these set skills. training inserts, very basic. Tabular view. I have certs for Tableau, for SAS, for Python, and it's basically just rather than just listing it on the very bottom under additional skills, it's going to be set out there as a visualization. Now, the last one, the additional skills, which I like a lot, this is the word map I was telling you about, which is really cool, right? So the actual kind of tool that, or the tool, the, the actual kind of skills I'm listing here, and then you can see for the weight, I'm using that as the sizing mechanism. So I want to make sure that the stuff that I want to be more noticeable, I'm gonna give it much larger weight, right? But I also want to say little things where SQL may be smaller, but I also want to show kind of in the hover why do I have SQL there, right? Because I've used it in various platforms, and it can just give that extra node of context to the recruiter. So as you hover across all these big skills, you can kind of see specifically what I want them to know about these skills, right? So I thought that was really cool. Okay, now let's put all this together. I've actually already built something together, but I wanted to call these out separately just to kind of show you how you can do very different versions of Tableau visualizations, whether it's tabular, whether it's a word cloud, whether it's a bar graph, whether it's using shapes like circles for the radio buttons. But now we're gonna put this all together. So let's go to my resume. Okay, check this out. All right, so I'm able to utilize my most recent headshot. I'm able to utilize images like the mail image here, the email image. So you can see I have that there, which is gonna mail to my personal email. So if you click on that, automatically a hyperlink will activate your basic email outbox to compose a message to me. Then I have a link here for my LinkedIn. If you immediately want to go and you know read further or connect with me on LinkedIn, then you can click on that and it automatically create basically another window for you to kind of look at my LinkedIn profile. I have my objective statement there. You know how main management kind of workshop and resume writers say, hey, make sure you have an objective statement. This is your elevator pitch. So I've had that there. And I've also included the images of my education and professional experience stops. So I have SMU there for my school and then all my other professional stops, my current stop. And notice how that I'm able to kind of briefly go through it, highlight specifically what I want you to look at. If I hover over there, then I can know that I'm referring to this part of the bar chart there. And then notice that when you hover over it, it basically shows the image by itself on the top so that you know that you're looking at my professional experience at that stop. And then notice as well the radio buttons I have here, the word cloud, and then my certifications. So, real quick, real concise, simple. If someone were to get access to my CV, read it, and see that I have an interactive resume, a hyperlink on there, they're going to be curious. They're going to say, let me check this out. Let me go to this hyperlink. They go to the hyperlink, automatically they're going to see this. They're going to see what I look like, how I dress, how I look professional. They're going to see buttons to email me, to look at my LinkedIn profile, my objective statement. But then if they're a tech recruiter, they're gonna see, wow, this guy's really done a lot of work in Tableau, and he knows what he's doing. He knows his way around the software tool. So that's one thing I wanted to show you. Let me exit the full screen here, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to bring in the profile. So let's pretend that I'm a tech recruiter, and let's go specifically to my profile, right? So I'm here in my profile. I'm seeing the exact same resume that I just showed you on the desktop environment. But now I can say, hey, as a tech recruiter, this is pretty cool. He did a lot of work on this, and he's really making it. It's very simple, easy for me to understand. And let me see what else he's got out there, right? So if I click on my profile, I can see, wow, this guy's done a lot of work. I see that he likes to do stuff on sports. He likes to work on stuff, he's done different types of visualizations, whether it's accidents, car accidents, whether it's temperature data, election data, Spotify data. I see a bunch of Makeover Monday stuff. So this is actually really cool. He's really put in a lot of work in what he does, and he finds passion in that. And that's just the added extra step you could do to convey to the recruiter without necessarily putting it down on paper. You can show your passion through your interactive resume. So I really hope that you got a lot out of this. And hopefully, you got some tips, some motivation to get one done on your own. Send me an email. Check out my blog. Send me a comment. Let me know if you have one. I'd like to see.